Hello, Dr. Dixon. Today I would like to tell you about my research, and it is about the effects of extensive reading on students' interest in IELTS reading. First of all, I would like to tell you about the problem and the innovation that I'm going to use. Firstly, I'm currently teaching at a private English center which specializes in training students for the IELTS test. And I'm often responsible for reading classes, and there's a common problem among my students that they often find IELTS reading boring, and they have low interest in IELTS reading exercises. And to solve this problem, I'm going to use extensive reading with the hope that it can help my students to gain higher interest in IELTS reading, and therefore in the long term they can improve their reading proficiency. And the course lasts for about 2 months, and there will be one reading class every week, and each class lasts for 2 hours. And I'm going to divide the 2-hour class into 2 parts. The first part of 1 hour is for IELTS reading, and the second part is for extensive reading, so that the student can have a balance. And I know that there's a lot of research or studies out there about the effects of extensive reading on students. However, there are very few studies which are conducted in the Vietnamese context and with IELTS students. Therefore, my research is going to fill the gap in between these studies. And the question research is, to what extent does ER help to improve my students' interest in IELTS reading? And now let's move on to the next part, which is literature review. First of all, extensive reading is defined as reading in quantity for understanding, for meaning and pleasure, rather than for the language form. And it is according to Jacobs and Farwell in 2012 and Bamford in 2004. And one of the most significant benefits of extensive reading on students is that it can help them to enhance interest in reading. According to the site in 2007, and when the students have higher interest in IELTS in reading, they can develop the reading autonomy, and the more they read, the faster they can improve their reading proficiency. And this is proved to be true by a lot of researchers, such as Bouquet, Salame, and Hartley in 2017, and Rowe in 2013. And because of this, I believe that the use of extensive reading can somehow help my students to improve their interest in IELTS reading. And now let's talk about the research setting and the cultural context of my research. First of all, my research is conducted at my working place, which is an English center in Hanoi, and the expected participants are 10 students at my reading class. They are all at intermediate level, and they age from 15 to 30. And there are some cultural factors that may affect my research, and one of them is the Vietnamese culture. And Vietnam has a text-based education system, which means that the students are often under a lot of pressure of gaining high score in tests and exams. Therefore, when being introduced to the use of extensive reading, some of the students may show some reluctance, because extensive reading often focuses on the real meaning or the pleasure of reading, rather than for focusing on the test or the high score. And to solve this problem, I'm going to inform the students about all the benefits that they may gain when they use extensive reading, and I hope that the student will be more willing to take part in the research. And as for the institutional culture, luckily I have a receptive head teacher who always welcome the new idea, and promising innovations. So in general, I have a lot of room for innovation in my English Center, and this is a good thing because I don't have to worry much about gaining permission from my boss to conduct my research. And about methodology and methods, first of all, my research is a qualitative research. This is because it is a small-scale research, and qualitative research allows me to dig deeper into the students' answers, and therefore I can understand more about their true feelings or the true thoughts during the research. And about the methodology, I'm going to use action research with 4 main steps: planning, acting, developing, and reflecting. Planning here means I will plan the research, and acting means I will collect the data and analyze the data, and developing here means developing an action plan to solve the problem, and finally reflecting upon all the processes and procedures of the research. And my worldview is pragmatic because my research aims is to find out a solution to one problem, so it is pragmatic. And to collect data, I am going to use 3 methods of collecting data. The first one is qualitative questionnaire, the second one is observation, and the last one is interview. And I think that the combination of these 3 methods can allow the data to be triangulated, so the data can be more reliable. And about the questionnaires, I would deliver 2 questionnaires to my students at the beginning and at the end of my research, so that I can see the change in their interest in reading. And observation, I would do observation in every class. And for the interview, I will conduct an interview at the end of the research. And I will also record the interview so that I can transcribe the interview later on, and to analyze. And to analyze the data collected, I will use thematic analysis, which means I will try to find out the common patterns or the common themes across the data, and to answer the research question. Okay, so now let's move on to the next part, which is about ethics. So to minimize the ethical problems, firstly, I will inform all the students. About the process of my research, about the benefits, and every details of my research. And when the student understand clearly about what they will do and all the things about my research, they can decide whether they will take part in the research or not. And if they want to take part in, they will sign in a consent form. And maybe their parents also have to sign in if they are small children. And to ensure the privacy of the participants, I will keep all their names anonymous, and confidential. And there might be one small problem that there are many students who don't actually want to take part in the research. However, because they are afraid that there might be some consequences for them if they don't take part in the research, or maybe they just want to please the teachers. In this case, it's me. So they sign in the consent form, but actually deep down they don't want to do it. So to solve this problem, when introducing the research to my student, I will emphasize that the participant here is totally voluntary, and they can withdraw in between the research if they find something uncomfortable. So with this solution, I hope that the students will be more willing and to take part in, to be part of my research. And finally, in conclusion, I hope that with my research, the student can gain higher interest in IELTS reading, and whether my research can produce the expected outcome or not, it can be a good reference material for other teachers to get lessons learned from it, and to make improvements in the future research. I will try to reflect on all the procedures and the process of the research. And so these are the references that I have used in my research, and that's all of my presentation. Thank you for listening.